you started off at Slam, and then I know you worked at Stance, and you worked at a bunch of different places. Sort of, how did that? What does your sort of chronology look like in that sense?
For
And
sure. So I was at Slam for about a half decade, started as an intern, was really lucky to get an editorial position, which only comes open every few years there, small publication. Does a lot of big work, but it's small as far as personnel. Growing now, but small then. Um, and kind of moved up the ladder there, really put in my time. And at a certain point in time, Stance, which was then a growing company, just getting into sports, was like, we need someone to kind of come in and direct our sports efforts. And so, the offer was right, the timing was kind of right. And the idea of you're a good journalist, maybe, but not great, not transcendent. So maybe this is your opportunity to kind of move on. And I hit the ground running and worked in marketing for Stance and got to be the first NBA on-court logo, be a part of our sock deal, and then MLB on field, and then an NFL license and a bunch of other licensing during that term, Space Jam and Uncle Drew and Disney and, a bunch of affiliated pieces. But for me, and then we'll talk about the next one after that, but for me, the biggest learning was just like storytelling. Journalism is about storytelling, podcasting is about storytelling, being on social media is about storytelling, and marketing is about storytelling. And so I changed my seat at the table, I changed my position, I changed which way I was looking, but telling stories didn't change. I went from telling it about a single player to kind of saying, okay, what is our brand story this quarter? Or what story are we telling with this party or this event? Or why are we signing this athlete? And what is the messaging we're trying to get across? And I think for me, I had that realization, and I'm sure some people in the field of marketing disagree, but I had that realization that if you can tell a great story and figure out how to execute it, you're going to win, or you're going to put yourself in a position to win. And I think that transcends, and when I was at Stance, we were lucky enough, and I guess we were skilled enough too, to engage in a collab with Kobe Bryant and Kobe Inc. during his last season. You might remember we did an NBA on-court sock. I believe it was the first sock ever that like commemorated an active player. It had his while he was playing, and he wore them, and that must have been an interesting
crazy
moment.
concept. Yeah.
The Lakers wore them on 2 occasions. I remember one very well because they actually beat the Warriors, and this was during their amazing season. So, and then they wore them the last game of the season. But, that went off well, whatever it was, built some connections. And, a few years down the line, I ended up being brought on as, CMO at Mamba Sports Academy and working, along those lines. And, just again, storytelling, right? How do you go from being a journalist, and working on Slam Magazine to being in sports marketing and brand marketing to, being the CMO of an academy, for lack of a better term? The only common thread there outside of sports is storytelling. And if you can tell a great story, which most of you can get where you want to go, and you can accomplish what you want to accomplish. And whether that story is about athletes or cards or Bitcoin or finances, if you can talk in such a way that excites people and that captures them and that gets the point across, you can be successful.